Alright, started. So, this is Devlog 1 of Black in Blood, a group project that me and some of my friends are working on. We are 2 months into development and going pretty hard at this. Right now, I'm adding a third level to test some more stuff out. Here, I'm actually kind of struggling to figure out how I can attach two scripts together, if you know what I mean. Make it to where anytime you kill an enemy with your sword, you will gain a percentage of your health back right here, which is 24, as you can see. I was struggling for this for a little while. I was so dumb I forgot that YouTube existed. So, that happened. Nothing else to say. I struggled on this for like solid 30 minutes. Still not looking up anything on Google at all for some dumb reason. Uh, I kept going back to other scripts to make sure certain things were correct, which obviously, as you can tell by all the red squigglies, nothing was right. And I did end up figuring it out, but at the time I didn't realize that it also gives health, even if you throw a knife at one. Here's me testing it out, losing some health, getting it back by attacking him. Again, at the time, I didn't realize you could also just throw a weapon and get health, which, didn't really want to have being able to get health from doing long range. We want it to be risk and reward type thing. I'm changing the player layer to player, so then you cannot activate the spawn hitboxes with throwing something at it, which did not work a tiny bit. I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix that later on. Not something that I really care about right now. One of those small issues don't really matter. Here is where I realized I forgot to give nav mesh for all all of the level 3. So those not cylinder capsules that you see, they have absolute nowhere to go and gives an error and ends up pausing the game. I realized that the character is actually very slow for a fast-paced game, which I do end up fixing, changing all the speeds. This problem that I just occurred, I did end up fixing that later on, which was, I'd say, about 2 hours later. Practically spent the entire day working on this, and yet I still suck at coding. You can see my aim is also very horrible without the crosshair, which I might add a crosshair later. Did get rid of the original one that we had there. You also realized for a couple seconds there I was slip and sliding around the map, which you can't really tell in the speed that I have the video going, which it's all because I forgot to give the floor ground layer, which makes it to where the player's character does not realize there's anything there, but still interacts with it, but doesn't give the amount of speed needed and traction. Here's where I actually started to fix the movement. Hard to tell, but it is faster just by a little bit. Although this is at like times 60 speed. I was originally super confused with the error message that I was getting. Again, I did end up fixing it later on. Is actually where I started to think about adding checkpoints to the game, or spawn points. Which then I realized I don't know how to do that at all. So here I did finally use my brain and look up a tutorial on how to do it. Here I'm following the tutorial. Got too lazy to just write serialized field again. And then I realized I could just put this into the player health and save space. It would just make it a lot easier to be handled by one singular script, which it really was, because then I wouldn't have to do too many callbacks to the player health, and once the health reaches 0, here's where I made it to where if you do die, the player will automatically get all his health back, although the throwing knives, you will not get those back. Once you use them, they'll be gone until you reach a ammo box for it, which most likely will change in the future. And this is very early development of the project. No guarantees any of this stuff will be staying in it. Gotta show some behind the scenes on it. Here's where I started adding it to other points of the map to make sure I wouldn't have to do it later on. Just made my life a lot easier. Although this could all probably be organized 100% better, but I'm not really that organized at all. Here's me testing the checkpoint, which surprisingly it actually works with no problems so far. Just me trying out the rest of the level, making sure everything works. And you might see a lot of messages about people going onto games. My Wi-Fi was tweaking the day of working on the game. Now I know most of this video is just complete quietness, but I don't really know how to do voiceovers of anything at all. So at this point, I was actually thinking in my head that it'd be kind of cool if when you lose all your shield, it'd give you like a warning, like what most games would do. Like, you'd have cracks on your screen, which, yes, I'm using MS Paint because I'm too lazy to install another software. And it didn't really work that much or how I wanted it to. And yes, I know I misspelled shields, but I'm too lazy to switch it back to switch it to the correct way. This is also where I thought it'd be kind of cool if it was only there for a couple seconds and not the entirety of the gameplay after you lose your shields. Which, again, none of this worked at all. And I was trying to figure out how I could add the cracked PNG to the image. It took way too long and didn't even work. It took me about 10 minutes. Looked up stuff on Google, nothing worked. I started having problems with the animation, which fixed itself somehow. Hope we don't run into that issue later on. And then, the kill fork. So if you like lava, you touch it, you will die immediately and respawn at your last checkpoint. Which wasn't really that hard to code in that much. I did end up having some issues with making it work. Again, I barely know how to connect two scripts together, which now I do know how to. The time that I thought that was actually gonna work, which it does not one bit. Legitimately just sets your health and shield to 0 instead of killing you. Here I wanted to make it a boss in the game, which when it enters a certain area, it will make like a ground pound type thing. For some reason, it kept teleporting to random nav mesh, or just completely killing itself altogether after about 3 seconds of existing. Its life was so sad that it killed itself several times. Here is also where, my brain finally turned on. I was thinking, I realized that there should probably be a death screen, which it does straight up say, L, you suck when you die, or L, you died. Took me about maybe 20 minutes to code in. Wasn't really that difficult. I did get distracted a lot though. So I realized that your mouse sometimes wouldn't pop up when you die, and you really couldn't click try again. Then I wanted to make it to where you could not attack when you're on the death screen, even if you're on death screen, even though time was frozen, it would still allow you to kill the enemy or throw objects at it, which of course is not a good thing to have because there's so many ways you could cheese the level. Some of the stuff did actually work, but most of it was scrapped and thrown away because I'm an actual idiot and none of it worked. Well, most of it. Okay, some didn't work, most of it worked. At the time, I thought that was gonna work, which unsurprisingly, it did not at all, and would completely break the entire game with its melee. Either let you attack or not let you attack. I ended up getting rid of most of it, keeping only some parts. And I realized I could have just done a callback to the player health script to where it has, if it's on death screen, it will not allow you to attack. Same with throwing, and then later on I did make it to where if you're on death screen, there's no animations that can be played during or a couple seconds afterwards, which fixed a whole bunch of problems, surprisingly. I was overjoyed when most of this worked. And here I realized that the sword can practically insta-kill even if the enemy has more health than what the sword can do. So I had to fix some things, and then here I also finally fixed the issue where you only get health if you do a melee on the enemy and kill it. Here's just me messing with the boss, trying to fix it, hoping that something would actually work for once, which I didn't, and I had to downscale the enemy. I gave him a little bit of more speed and 150 HP, fixing probably like almost all the issues that we had. And we do have a Discord server that does have 2 test builds, hopefully a third coming soon. And if you want to play it, go ahead, tell us your issues, give us your recommends. That's all.